Welcome to Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews. I am Tracey S. Phillips, and today I am interviewing Sharon Lynn, who is our other interviewer. It's so great to talk to you today, Sharon.
Thank you so much for doing this. It's kind of different to be on the other side of the interview process. So I'm looking forward to chatting.
Yeah. Sharon is an award-winning author. She was raised in Arizona, but lived in England as a teenager. Every return trip has inspired the setting of her Cotswold Crime Mystery series. She is a professor of theater, film, and writing. Her husband and a border collie mix keep her entertained and on track. Her passions are storytelling, mentoring young writers and filmmakers, traveling, and cooking. And today we are discussing her delightful book 4 in the Cotswold Crime series, Death Takes a Night. So when Sharon's character, the American intern Maggie McGuire, receives an invitation to go sightseeing in Glastonbury, England, she expects a lot of things. However, an Arthurian knight floating in a pool at the Chalice Well with a broadsword through his chest is not one of the things she expected to see. Welcome.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that nice intro.
Yeah. And well, first you have to share your newest, latest award with everybody.
So let's see if I can do this. Mirror image. So I did get an Ingram Spark Editor's Selection for Death Plays with Fire. And that is just a thank you. It was not something I was expecting. It is just something the editors at Ingram do. So I have a smaller publisher. Who just distributes all their books through Ingram. So it was eligible and it got chosen. And yeah, I was very, very honored.
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. This is such a fun series, Sharon. And I imagine writing about the Roman baths in England and ancient architecture and excavation, all wrapped up in a murder mystery, is kind of a dream come true for you, right?
It
Writing
really
about,
is.
yeah. And plus, you get to travel there and explore all of those things that interest you.
Yeah.
I would just love to hear a little taste of what your writing life is like.
What my writing life is like. A little frantic some days. Um, I mentioned this to somebody else. It's like when we go on vacation in England and my husband looks out over something and he's like, wow, this is beautiful. My thought is always, wow, what a great place to dump a body, which is what I did with Death Takes a Night. We were at the Chalice Well. It is a holy place in England where Joseph of Arimathea dropped the Holy Grail and it stained the water red with blood. And and it's just really beautiful and really peaceful. And that is where Death Takes a Night opens. and and you
Yes.
couldn't actually put a knight in the chalice well because the opening isn't big enough. It's only like 2 feet across. But from the top of the gardens at the chalice well, it goes down to the Lion's Head font and then down to these two beautiful pools, which then just kind of slither down through the rest of the gardens. And so you could definitely plop a body into one of those two pools. And that's what I did. Um,
Wow.
so as I'm looking at things, that's just kind of how my brain starts working. It's like, this would be awesome. And so that's sort of the seeds of the writing process.
So you travel to these beautiful locations, historic locations, and you what like take out your notebook and start writing down notes and descriptions
You
and
know, I usually do it as just pictures. So I'll take a picture from a lot of angles. I'll think about how is Maddie going to see this? Um, and I almost always an opening line pops into my head. So I just take pictures around everything. So it's like, okay, the only way she can do this is if she sneaks into the bathroom in the exit first, so she can see the blood in the water, and then she goes through the line and up and sees the pool. So when you read my books, all of those locations are real. You can go there and you can read that opening chapter and you can see, oh, she snuck in that exit right there, and then she came around and went through this beautiful tunnel to the ticketing kiosk. And um, yeah, so
That's so
I
cool.
I mostly remember it because I have the pictures, and then there'll be just one afternoon where I'm like, outline a whole book and then just go back to what it was I was writing before. And yeah, the other day I just got it into my head that I needed to do um book 6 major plot points. And so I just got all those down and out of my head, and then I went back to writing book 5. So
Okay.
yeah.
So do you have your story figured out before you travel, or are you sort of figuring it out as you're taking all these pictures?
Um I let the areas inspire me. Definitely. So I don't have an idea before I go. Um, except that like last time I went, I knew I was going to write about croquet, because there's a World Croquet Championship. Who knew? Um, and I actually happen to know the World Croquet Champion. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to kill him off in a book. Um, he's a very, very
Is
nice
he
boy.
okay with that?
I haven't yet told him he's the victim. He knows I'm writing about croquet, but and he's just the sweetest guy. Um, uh, yeah, not a bad guy at all, just the victim. Um, so because I knew I was going to write about croquet, that I went to Cheltenham and went to the croquet grounds. And when you do things like that, like there's this little man who walks up using a croquet mallet as a cane, and he had a straw boater hat on, um, and he knew my friend, who's the champion, and he just told me all about croquet, and it just and the croquet fields there at Cheltenham, and it was just one of those. Of course, he's in this book because he was just such a character walking, out of real life. So I walked him right onto the page. Um, and so you see things like that you don't, I hadn't planned on that, but how could I not use him? And same thing, there's this statue, kind of like it's bronze and it's got a little bit of cyberpunk to it, but just a little, but it's a minotaur with his arm around a rabbit, and it's huge. I mean, it's bigger than people sized, and
Okay.
and I didn't know that existed in the world. And we were just walking along. I'm like, well, that has to go into the book.
Well, for sure, because it's
So
not like you would not notice that.
right, right, and Matt, this is in the book that'll come out in January, Death Plays Croquet. Maddie's listening to somebody describe it, thinking she's having a nervous breakdown. This can't be real. So
For sure.
fun, yeah, fun things like that. And with Death Takes a Night, like she goes into the Abbey tea rooms across from the Glastonbury Abbey, which is where King Arthur was buried. Um, and those are the best scones I've had in England at that Glastonbury tea shop. So, it's just fun things like that go into the books. And when you Glastonbury is a tumble down. The ruin on the cover is an actual photo from there. Uh, And it was knocked down in 1539 when Henry VIII decided the monasteries had too much power and he wanted them. So he took all their power, all their money, and he knocked a bunch of them down. And so the monks moved King Arthur and didn't tell anybody well where, but there's still a marker where he was buried before the dissolution of the monasteries.
Oh, wow.
But when you
Wait, do we know where King Arthur is buried now?
not now, no, the Glastonbury monks hid him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, wait a minute. I thought we didn't know where he was buried. So
Yep,
I guess,
not since 1539.
right. Okay.
But when you're
So
standing in that ruin, even though it's a ruin, when you can see how huge it was, like a football field long, I was like, well, no wonder the monarchy was afraid of the power of the monks. This place is amazing. And King Arthur was buried there.
yeah. So let's talk about the Death Takes a Night. It opens up with this knight floating in the chalice well. And so tell us a little bit about that.
So every year at Glastonbury, they have, and I just want to make it clear, where the concert is with like 100 stages and all of that, it's out on a farm far from the little village. They call it the Glastonbury Music Festival. Um, but it's not inside the town of Glastonbury. It's out on a farm, kind of like Woodstock was, out on a
Oh,
farm. So they don't get hundreds of thousands of revelers in town. Um, but every year at the Glastonbury Abbey, they have an I call it a medieval fair, and people dress up and they have jousting, they have knights, doing sword fights. They um, have like crafts from the time, all very authentic and really cool. So
yeah.
my thought was to take somebody who was dressed as a knight for the fair and then dump them in the chalice well for
Love it. Absolutely love it.
it.
So, and um, the DI Parikh is implicated for this murder. Now, kind of, I want to go over like some of the police details because we don't have a DI in American law enforcement. So,
Right.
explain a little bit of that.
Okay, so and I have interviewed a couple of retired police detectives, and in fact, I've just become friends with one of them, so we see each other whenever I go over there. He takes my husband hiking.
Nice.
Um, so my research with that is pretty accurate. They have decentralized. No, they have centralized, they being England, centralized a lot of the police force hubs. So the big station, the hub, where all of the kind of people work out of, uh, those are going to be closer to like Bristol, so to the bigger towns. So in Bath itself, the police station is also where you can pay your water bill. Uh, so there's just like a couple of constables there and in a little window, but it also has all of the other like city offices and things.
Mhm.
So and that's because in Bath there's no crime. I throw bodies all over it. There's never any crime there. It's
It's sort
all
of
over
like
in
the town
Bristol.
of Middleton where I live. They have the town board and all of the town, like you can go there and pay your taxes. And attached to the same building is the Middleton Police Department.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is.
just a little
Yep. Yep.
sweet little town. Um, and so there's just a couple of constables, basically, of
Hmm.
which Edward was one. He has moved
Edward
on.
is Maddie's love interest.
love interest. Yes, he is Scottish. Okay, so police. So in England, every county has their own police. So if something happens in your county, you'll have a different police, even if it's a block away, if it happens over the way. In Scotland, they have just the one police force. Um, so that's one of the differences between those. Uh, so you have the hubs where the jails are and where the detectives are. And you have two different paths that police officers can take. So you can be a constable, and then you can go on and be a police constable, or you can be a detective constable. So they're two different routes.
Mhm.
Um, and so you can go up the ladder with either of those, either just being a constable or just being a detective. So you'd go from uh, detective constable to detective sergeant, to detective inspector to detective chief inspector. So it just kind of goes up from there. Uh, or you can just
And
take police
and DI
constable,
Parikh is the detective investigator,
detective inspector.
inspector, and he's like a level up from Edward,
He's two levels
correct?
up from
Okay.
from Edward. And one of the things I found out after I'd written the first novel was that a lot of times homicides go to the major crimes investigation team, which
Right.
is different. And so uh, somewhere along the line, Parikh moves over to major crimes investigation team. And that way I can have him range all over the Cotswolds instead of if he were just a DI for the Avon and Somerset Constabulary, he'd have to remain right near Bath. So I can move them around more. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
Edward's mentor, and so he took Edward with him.
And he's also like a main player in all of your books. So that's why it's kind of shocking that he gets implicated in this night's murder. And
I
so,
I I'm so glad you found that shocking. I did too. Like I'm like, whoa.
yeah, exactly. And
I
because
mean, I
because
knew I
he's
was
an
going to do it.
investigator,
Yeah.
right? And all of those things. And so Maddie is like, this can't be. And she gets really involved like she never should. Like
Right.
she always
Exactly.
does.
Like she never should. Um, and it's like, I'm just going to do this one thing, and then all goes
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. And she loves to try to figure it out. So,
One of her foibles is her extreme curiosity, and she knows it, and she's like, for those of you who haven't read any of the series, she's 19 and Death Takes
yeah.
a Bath, and so 19-year-olds don't always think everything through, and so that's just really fun to write, but it is also fun to have her starting to mature a little as she goes along. And so
Yeah.
that's really fun. So she knows she's too curious and she knows she shouldn't go there, but she
Yeah.
does it
So
anyway.
just uh, briefly, how much time passes between each of your novels, roughly?
Okay, so I started out with a 3-book contract. Death Takes a Night, Death Takes a Fall, and Death Plays with Fire. And at that point, we didn't know if she was going to stay in England because I didn't know if my contract would be extended. So those first 3 take place in just one semester. So they're kind of like a month and a month and a month, which is a lot of death for the
Yeah.
Cotswolds. And so the next 6, they extended my contract to 9 books. So the next 6 will be every semester. So Death Takes a Night is just over the entirety of her next semester at university.
Okay, cool. Good to know. And one of the reasons I love Maddie is because she is an American who also is struggling with some of the things that most young Americans do. Like you said, she's 19, and also trying to learn the British way and their differences in language and law and um, etiquette and decorum.
Um,
are some of these based on real life experiences, Sharon?
oh yeah. You think, okay, I'm going to England. I speak English. I don't. Um, and it happens the second you get off the plane because the exits are labeled way out. And it's like, who says that? Well, everybody in England, that's who. Um, and and it just starts there, all these little things that are just different that just eat away at your confidence. And they eat away at Maddie's confidence. She's used to being just gets whatever she wants, um, figure anything out, great at reading people. Well, she's not great at reading English people because they're terribly, terribly reserved. And except when they're not, and they're really boisterous, and she doesn't, she just, yeah. And yeah, a lot of that was stuff that I experienced when I lived there. And also sometimes, when you still go back and visit with people, it's like, does he hate me? I can't tell. It's like, so you want to go do
But they're
this? I'm
just
like,
so,
guess not.
yeah.
And
Uh,
I gotta say, the cars driving on the wrong side of the road, which they don't consider it the wrong side of the road, but it, I'm so lucky I haven't been run over. And I mean, and also when the lights turn, that's not for you, that's for the cars. So you're like, oh, it's green, I'll go. No, there are cars turning left. Ah, run back, run back.
uh,
So
and
yeah, stuff to get used to, definitely.
yeah, for sure.
And
But
and
yeah, but good thing
she's
that you go
flexible.
there a lot and then
And shouldn't get run over. But yeah, Maddie is figuring things out, but she's wrong a lot of the time, which is
yeah.
one of her charms.
Yeah, and then it's fun to read too.
Yeah.
You include some other fun elements, so like cozy mystery elements. Like Maddie has a pet bunny.
She does. She has, and that is based on I lived in England.
I can't point to your bunny,
Oh,
but that's
pet bunny. Um, so when we lived in England, I was there with my family, and we traded houses with another family, and they were in my dad's house in California, and we were in their house. And the house came with a big black and white bunny in a hutch out in the garden under the giant tree. Um, and his name was Roderick, and we called him Roddy. And it was so delightful to just have this like built-in pet when you were, in a strange place. And so he was really
well,
quite a comfort to
how
our
did I
whole
not know
family.
that Roddy was a real bunny?
Yeah, Roddy is a real bunny.
That's cute.
And the house where Maddie stays is the house that we lived in. And there was a college student who was renting the very top room, the top studio. Uh, and so that's where I put Maddie. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah, because write what you know.
That's so awesome. And you make it so easy for us to visualize everything in your books too. Um, uh, I want to say, do you say Celtic or Celtic?
So if you're a Boston fan, it's a Celtic. If you're talking about the ancient civilization that covered Europe, it's Celtic.
Right.
So
Good to know.
yeah.
Because you add in a lot of references in this book to one, Arthurian legend,
Mhm.
right? Because you get into that whole like Ren Fair thing, and then there's all the talk about that, which ties into some of the archaeology that they're digging up and
Yeah.
all of that. And so you add in a lot of those elements to the current crime. Um,
Yeah.
can you talk about that without giving too much away?
I do try to she gets lessons in archaeology in every book from her Irish boss Samantha Niven, and who I just love writing because she's just such a little imp of a character. Uh, and there's always something in those lectures, even if they don't have anything to do with anything at the moment, there's always something that she remembers from those lectures that she can apply to help her get out of a horrid situation. So, So it's fun to include all of those archaeology things, but it's also just fun to be like, okay, well, she learned this. What's she going to do with it? And this time she wants to know more about armor because she discovered a knight with a broadsword through his chest. And
Right.
so she goes to a blacksmith out in the Cotswolds and finds out about how to actually, you know, smelt and, hammer out in the traditional way swords and things like that. And it's not legal to burn coal in England anymore because it was so polluting. But if you have a traditional blacksmith, you can still burn coal and do it over a coal fire. So she just learns fun things like that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And then you put that all in the book too. So we get to learn those fun things too.
I'm glad you like them.
Yeah. Um, let's see. What are my other questions? Maddie talks about herself a little bit. She says, I'm good at geometry and spatial relationships. It's why I want to specialize in Roman architecture. I visualize how the rooms flowed, and I excel at finding inconsistencies that lead to hidden nooks. So,
So, what I love about Maddie is that she is really, really good at geometry and spatial relationships and math, all of which I am not. And so like, gosh, wouldn't it be great to have the kind of brain that just processed this information like this and was able to visualize things and piece them together in your head? Because again, I can't. Um, but ever since I was like 8 years old, I always have been just fascinated with hidden passages and finding nooks and things that nobody else had discovered. And I didn't always want to be a writer, but I always wanted to solve mysteries.
right. Well, I
And
think that because we all read like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
exactly, how cool would that be?
Right? Exactly.
So yeah, uh, and I mean, certainly a lot of the Victorian era houses, and prior to that, actually, after Henry VIII just started messing with England's religion, he's like, okay, we're Catholic. We're not going to be Catholic anymore. We're all going to be Protestant. So, which was brand new at that point. He knew Martin Luther, um, and mostly just so he could get a divorce. Um, and so he could take all the monasteries and all their money and all their land. But then he was succeeded by Queen Mary the First, and she was very Catholic. Her mother was Catholic, and she was married to Prince Philip of Spain, a very Catholic nation. And so she's like, everybody's going to be Catholic again. And if you're Protestant, and I know it, you're going to get burned in the streets. And that it didn't go over well. So when she died of natural causes and Elizabeth the First became queen, she's like, let's go ahead and go back to being Protestant. But we're not going to burn anybody. I mean, can you imagine living through a
Right.
time like that where it's just so awful? So a lot of the
Right.
houses were built with priest holes, and they're, hidden passageways where they could have a Catholic priest come in and do sacraments, and if somebody knocked on the door, they could hide. So a lot of just like the Tudor architecture and the Georgian and the uh, um, first one I said, Victorian, had those kinds of, started out as a way to hide the priest, but then kind of just became vogue to start hiding things.
Well, if you have a hidey hole, you know,
Yeah.
have you have
It'd be
you
cool.
encountered any in your travels?
Well, the house that we lived in, and this happens in Death Takes a Bath. Um, there's a basement, and you go into the basement, and it's like actually built into the side of this. It's not really a cliff; it's just sort of a hill that goes into a ravine. And so there's exposed huge boulders down there. And I was too scared to stay in it long enough to actually find out if there was a hidey hole. But if there was one, it would have been in there. Also in that same house, uh, the kitchen, and you go through the pantry, and there's a door to the outside through the pantry. So I think that must have been like a little hidden gem at one point, and then I just
Oh,
turned it
maybe,
into a
yeah.
pantry.
They turned it, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it was
So,
a mudroom. No, because they didn't have that kind of thing.
yeah. And the mudroom's just kind of like in the front of the house near the garden, so you can
Right.
take your take your boots off.
Nice. Um, I'm like thinking about why you were too scared to stay in that house for too long.
Just the basement. I mean, it was like, oh, this is definitely a basement that has got some ghosts. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
And it had a crystal doorknob, and there wasn't another doorknob in the house that was crystal, and it was just like I don't know. Again, I've always had a really active imagination.
Well, for sure.
So it's like, nope, not going down there. Also, I two of my brothers were with us. They were college aged at that point, and pretty sure one of them would have locked me in had they had the opportunity. So the
I won't
downside of
ask.
traveling with family.
So, Sharon, what is next for you? What are you
Well,
working on now?
as I mentioned earlier, I am writing Death Plays Croquet, about the World Croquet Championship in Cheltenham. Cheltenham is this beautiful Regency town, even more so than Bath, um, but it's also a very rich town. Lots of ambassadors live there, and uh, so they don't like film crews coming in. So if you see something that is, this beautiful Regency limestone architecture on Downton Abbey or whatever it is, that's going to be in Bath. Um, Cheltenham is equally beautiful, but they never film there. So it is this beautiful, beautiful town. Um, like their high street, there are 10 Michelin starred restaurants on their high street.
Wow.
It is a nice town. Um,
Destination for sure.
yeah, and when we first went there, and we took the train there, got in a taxi, and I said, "Croquet courts," and the taxi driver said, "Castle." I'm like, "No, I want to go to the croquet courts." He's like, he spent the entire drive to the croquet courts, which he thought was really weird. Um, telling us about the castle. So the next time we went, I I looked up the castle. It's amazing with an incredible history. And I wrote to their event coordinator and said, I am planning a wedding at Sudley Castle. However, it is fictional. I would love a tour of the venues, but I don't want to waste anybody's time. And she was like, how fun! Come on out. So last time we were there, we went out to the castle, and it is just an amazing space. It is still privately owned. Um, uh, Kings and queens have died there and are buried there. Uh, it was a lot of it is a tumble down, but a lot of it got restored, and they do, they have gorgeous gardens, like 50 variety of roses kind of gardens.
Wow.
And um and yeah, so I got I got this beautiful tour of all the venues, and then I was like, okay, so if I wanted to poison somebody in the catering, how could I do that? So she showed me all the catering kitchen and every place they load everything out. And then uh I was like, so do you have a kitchen garden? Because I was thinking maybe if they had rhubarb growing on it, I could poison some
Mhm.
people with rhubarb leaves. And rhubarb does grow on the grounds, by the way. But she was like, no, no kitchen garden. We have a poison garden.
Oh,
And I was
perfect.
like, well, who has that? And awesome. So yeah, she showed me the poison garden, and then she had the groundskeeper actually send me a whole lot of information about the plants that were there and who designed the garden, and just a really cool experience.
That's fun. Oh, how much fun.
Yeah, so
I
that
want to
should be.
travel with you.
I would love it if you did. So that should be released in January of 27. The book after that will be Death Goes to Church. And there's going to be something happening in the Bath Abbey. And then books 7, 8, and 9 will be every January after that. So
Wonderful. And I know that I've spoken to you before, and you said you had maybe a second series, like a spin-off series. Is that one
I
going to be coming out soon too, or
um once I catch up. Uh
how many books can you write in a year?
exactly. While working full time. Um uh I have so Maddie, my main character in the Cotswolds Crimes, her mother is a Shakespeare professor, and she's 19, so she talks to her mom a lot. And it turns out that her mother is being pursued by a serial killer and a really hunky criminal justice major across campus. So that is going to be the first in the series starring Maddie's mom. So have that one finished. And the next two outlined. I just need more time. But I'm hoping to get that one out in 27. So
Nice.
that will be fun. And then book 4 for her mom and book 7 for Maddie. Her mom's going to come to England. She's a Shakespeare teacher, so she's going to go up to Stratford upon Avon, and then Maddie is going to meet her up there, and so they will each have. Uh, Maddie's will be Death Takes the Stage, and her mom's will be the director. So
Oh,
they will
two two
intertwine.
books. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
So
So
that's, yeah.
where can our viewers find you and your books?
The books are in all the major retailers, and if it's not in your library, I think it's in most libraries as an ebook. But if you want the physical book, do ask your librarian to get it, because that's really lovely for us to be able to just have our book exposed to more and more people. Um, my website is sharonlwrites.com. I am at Sharon L. Writes on Instagram and Facebook and Substack. I am moving my newsletter over to Substack. And yeah, follow me, reach out, say hi,
Yeah, read her books.
and read my books. Thank
Yes,
you.
because you won't be disappointed. Armchair Traveler. Um, yes, love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. And this is Blackbird Writers Presents, and thank you so much for watching.